Fantastic. Thank you for that, and welcome. Great to be here this afternoon. Vanessa Sorenson, Managing Director of Microsoft New Zealand, joined Microsoft in 2017 after a couple of decades in the telecommunications industry. And what a time to take over, and has been Managing Director for the last year. And during that time, obviously, this wonderful announcement of the data centre we're going to be talking about in a minute. Just before we start, just some of the information we heard this morning, particularly about the foreign investment in New Zealand. The figures are 13 billion. It's a mixture of investment, stock as well, is up. And certainly looking at some of the new announcements that came in, probably in the last 12 months to 14 months, it's been nearly 20 billion or more of new US investment that's will be coming through over the next 5 to 7 years, which has been fantastic to see. It's been great volume. Going the other way, it was quite interesting to see Celia Ramondo's comments that New Zealand investment in the US is up to 3.4 billion. I think the last stats I saw from the US government was about 1.9 billion 2 years ago. So that has doubled to an extent, and I still question the size of those figures. The large US New Zealand Trade and Enterprise and ourselves have been looking at all these companies that have been investing. The US investors have been focused on tech, pet food, health, creative media, and alternative protein sectors. They probably the ones they're working on at the moment. They're seeing much more interest over COVID, again in tech, aerospace, gaming, clean tech, sustainable alternatives, such as in energy and food. So those are some pretty good sectors, obviously, to be looking at. Now, Vanessa's just got back. She's had a week up in the US. So my first question to you, Vanessa, is going to be, how was Microsoft post-COVID? Are we back to normal in the US? And are US companies now here in New Zealand totally not under American control over COVID?
Well, kia ora, tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou katoa, ko Vanessa toko ingoa, ko Sorenson te whanau, tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou katoa. Yes, I have no idea what time zone I'm in, and if I fall asleep, it's either jet lag or not sleeping, but it was incredible jumping on an Air New Zealand flight, heading back to Redmond and Seattle, and just seeing actually how open the United States really is. But a couple of fun facts: customs are still as grumpy as hell, and they were not as welcoming and as warming of the full flight both ways. So it was incredible. You know, it's been over 2 years since I've been up there, and I was really, really fortunate to host a customer, and just hearing how far tech has accelerated. But everything that's been talked about in these last, the day here, security, you know, what are we doing to make sure that we're safe? Who would have thought that we could all work from home because we had to? And just the acceleration of transformation like we never saw before because we had to. So, you know, gone are the days of the multi-million-dollar contracts that, you know, you put your fingers like this and hoped that they would work. Now we're just realizing that actually we've got to turn things on and we've got to try more things. So yeah, this whole metaverse, HoloLens, things that are coming are unbelievable.
Fantastic, can't wait. The one thing the US companies have always used New Zealand as, and you saw it in your program, that was a test bed. They could get it, they could trial it here. If they got it wrong in New Zealand, it didn't matter because it didn't cost them too much.
Yep. And
so it's always been a great test bed from that perspective. So based on that, tell us about Microsoft's decision to build a local hyperscale data center region in this country. What was behind that, and what will it mean for New Zealand businesses and investors?
Well, what was behind that is on the basis that Microsoft's been in New Zealand for 34 years. And Microsoft globally has seen the innovation out of many of you. Startups like we've talked about with Xero, Soul Machines, but so many more that we just actually don't yell loud enough. So one of the things I did when I first joined Microsoft is pretty much started on this bandwagon that we need to connect Aotearoa to the rest of the world. And the way to do that was build data centres. We were so fortunate Satya Nadella came to New Zealand about 3 years ago. And he sat with many of our customers and he heard the innovation and where we wanted to take this country and an opportunity to digitalise and have access for everybody. And it was really that time that Satya's face lit up and said, we've got to invest here. Because he saw young kids demonstrating Ngā Motu, which is the Minecraft version of Te Reo, that was built locally in New Zealand, on the smell of an oily rag, good old number 8 wire. And when Satya asked how much did this investment cost, we sort of sniggered and said about 10 grand. He couldn't believe it. And it truly is the innovation of Kiwi companies that he said, imagine if we could actually connect you to the rest of the world. So the fact that I could announce pretty much 2 weeks after becoming MD of Microsoft New Zealand, one of the most nerve-wracking things I've ever done. Be careful what you wish for. But I'd have to say that, letting New Zealand know so ahead of time has been phenomenal, because we can now imagine a banking system in public cloud. We can imagine our tax system running on public cloud. Why? Because we're investing here, the most secure data centers of all time. So we're absolutely thrilled, and I think it was back in like 2018, New Zealand was recognised as digital innovators of the nation through the Fletcher School. And so there's just so much amazing opportunity that we're going to see, and it feels like day one's going to start soon as we launch.
Fantastic. So how will Microsoft Data Center region enable the kind of scaling and innovation, and what are the other benefits it will provide?
Look, it's not just infrastructure. I think one of the things people have asked me is, what is the size and scale of this investment? It is massive. It is full hyperscale data centers. So now, many customers who have already stepped forward with us with our BizApps platform, Dynamics ERP, you can have in country. I think a lot of people want their data locally. But honestly, it's about connecting to the rest of our data centers all around the world. I kind of joke with my kids and say, the world is flat. And I truly believe that now with this investment that's coming. So I hope that each and every one of you think more about experts. We want more tech startups, and we want you to kind of use these data centers as a playground to connect you to others and just expand business so much faster.
And Microsoft's invested in a number of these startups here over the years, going back. And so that's still very much on the horizon. You're still looking for these tech companies that you can integrate or work with and expand?
Honestly, a lot of people do say to me, God, the Microsoft, transformation in the last 5 to 6 years, incredible. It is actually about that partnership. A funny quote that Satya Nadella always says, if you want to be cool, go join the other guys. But if you want your customers to be cool, come and join Microsoft. And we can only scale through partnerships. And that's what I'm so proud of. It's the New Zealand as well as global partners that we work with that every day are using our tech to solve world problems. Recently I watched somebody in the US with a HoloLens on do open heart surgery in a small remote town in India, and it saved a life. This is here and now. And it's like the opportunities of what we're going to see is just phenomenal. So I think in terms of the tech startup, we've recently engaged with Soul Machines, watch where we're going to take the digital avatar. How we all want to get information so much quicker and faster in our hands, but we also want that interaction. But also companies like Lawview, who are really, really small, but now through our tech are going to take it to the rest of the world. So we haven't even gotten started, Mike. That's how I feel.
Fantastic. That's great to hear. And probably the fastest growing area of our membership are the smaller New Zealand companies who want to go to the US market and they want to get up there. In fact, I think I've done 12 or 14 letters of support for visa applications for tech companies needing to get up there and get into the US and invest and do business there. So it's very positive. Now, there's been a greater focus on sustainable investment in recent years. How important is that to Microsoft?
Oh, hugely important. Again, an extremely proud moment was when Microsoft put their money where their mouth was and stated $1 billion investment to be carbon neutral by 2030, but carbon negative by 2050. Now, if any of you have visited Redmond campus, it's like a 1970s brown building, kind of, built on all the old stuff. They're knocking all of that down at the moment. So to really go and undo all the sins of the past, we have really and truly got to look at our buildings, the way we go about things. But what I'm most proud of is the latest data centers that we build are the greenest and cleanest. So all renewable energies, we invest so much more. And again, It's taken a long time to invest in Aotearoa for that reason, with volcanoes and, all of these good things. But, just watching that process and being part of the how and what sustainability truly means to Microsoft is phenomenal. And we've also recently we're doing a project actually with local iwi and councils to really look at leveraging tech and digital twins on water quality. And this is something actually Microsoft globally are watching, so we can actually take it to the rest of the world. So sustainability is critical to us. I mean, as I say, it's not just a tag phrase in a PR. It's absolutely walked the talk. And something really simple we did in our local offices, which I'd love you to come and see, is trash bins with IoT at the bottom to understand how well are we actually recycling. What are we putting in what bins, and actually now monitoring and looking at the data of how we behave. And I've got to say, as a mum of two, it has absolutely changed the conversations I have with my children, because we only have one Earth. And so I want to make sure that that's preserved and protected for everyone else, and to work for an organisation that truly believes it as much as we do is phenomenal.
Fantastic. I mean, the big issue that we've all heard, and particularly when we survey all the US companies operating in New Zealand, has been pre-COVID, pre-GFC skill shortage. And it's been a global phenomenon. It doesn't matter which country. I think a number of years ago, Amcham Korea actually did an article about the brain drain. Yep. And they named New Zealand as one of the countries causing it, which I thought was absolutely wonderful when we had that influx of a lot of people from Asia. But of course, Maren commented on it this morning about the issue. Is recruiting through skilled workers. Does New Zealand have the IT skills it needs to take advantage of the new technology and attract more international investment?
Look, the skills gap is real, and it's a hindrance and an opportunity. And again, I see this as a massive opportunity for us here in Aotearoa. We talk about diversity and inclusion all the time, but for me, I want us to go after more Māori and Pacifica people, who are the creators and the kapa waka, drivers of change, but they don't think of tech as an opportunity for them. So what we've launched at a local level with Microsoft is a couple of initiatives. So our HICO program is incredible. It's about offering free certifications and skills, which we've partnered with Tupatoa to roll out to multiple Māori and Pacifica peoples, as well as AUT and some of the universities we're pulling together. We just launched 10K Wahine, which is to inspire 10,000 women to think of a role in tech. And one of the things we did recently is we partnered with PwC, and there were two Māori ladies who were basically dislodged through COVID. One was a flight attendant, and the other owned her own travel business. We put these ladies through our certifications. They put themselves online. They got Azure accredited and Power Platform, and they jumped from $40,000 a year jobs to over $100,000 a year jobs. One was 30, the other was 55. This is the opportunity. But we've also got to go all the way into schools. We absolutely have to inspire the next generation that actually tech's something for them. I know my own daughter doesn't consider that. So, that's the next thing. Watch this space, a project that we are driving with the Ministry of Education. Just think like the Netflix for education. The way our kids want to actually work, we want to provide for them.
Fantastic. I mean, your bio says you've got a passion for education and for kids. Part of my nighttime pastime or daytime is the chair of the Kiwis Robotics Charitable Trust. Great to know that it is today, I think. We have 6 teams from New Zealand in Dallas for the first time in 3 years participating in the World Champs, taking on the Americans and other countries at their own game. I think we've been there we've been 11 years and we've come back as world champs. New Zealand's come back as world champs. So that's an amazing statistic for New Zealand's youngsters coming through. And it's teaching them robotics, engineering, coding, all these things we want them to come through for the new generation. So
that's how they get excited. They want to play games. As parents, stop telling them to stop it. It's actually, they are a lot of the time actually coding. So I see it as a huge opportunity.
Fantastic. Okay, we've got some questions now. The cost of developers has skyrocketed. This will push the price of SaaS. Has Microsoft got a plan? What needs to be done to keep it affordable and accessible?
Look, I think, ultimately we have to train more people. It's like what we saw with housing. If there aren't enough, the price goes up. So, I think this is, again, tech is now number 2 from a GDP export perspective in New Zealand, which I find incredible. So again, I want to encourage that more developers can create. What we are seeing is some of our platforms, like our Power platform, which is a low-code, no-code, any one of you could build your own Power app. I know because I did it, and I'm so untechnical. So I think it's going to start shifting, and we believe the way we can change that is to totally train, provide our certifications for free, to create more people to move into the industry so we have more access. So sadly, we can't turn off the button of what people are prepared to pay people, but we do believe that if we can educate more and we have more of a set openness, then I think that's the opportunity for us.
Okay, another one. How do you ensure the integrated data centres protect privacy and just don't adopt policies for the lowest common denominator?
Well, Microsoft drinks their own champagne, and we transitioned to public cloud on Azure 5.5 years ago. And you all rely on us for our stuff to be as secure as possible. So we're doing it to ourselves. One of the things that you get to see if you ever go up to Redmond, and I'd encourage you to, once you're going back out on the field, is going through our security area. We have 2 teams, a red and a blue team. Their full-time job is to try and hack into Microsoft. It is phenomenal. And when you get a job at Microsoft, you've got to go through the most stringent police checks. Can you imagine some of these people? Because they've got some history. But that is what we do. We take security so seriously. In fact, compliance on all of our people and the way we do things is number 1. Because if anything happens to us, you all rely so heavily on us that you're far safer moving into our tech on cloud than anything else.
Okay, we've got time for one more, I think. How could the government make the environment for more competitive, for more investment from companies like Microsoft and the FANGs companies?
Oh, look, that needs about 15 hours, really. I think we've just, there were no data centre providers in New Zealand only 2 years ago. And now, look, we're a country that's really embracing innovation and investment. I think we've just got to think bigger. I truly want all of you to walk away today thinking, what could this opportunity mean for me around growth? The government will do their piece. As I say, we're doing some phenomenal projects around waterways and education. But I think it's all up to us as well. In fact, I've written something down here about the trade between countries is basically the outcome of business flows between companies across all countries. And I was listening this morning when Minister O'Connor was asked if EPF was vague. It's up to all of us in the room. Like this growth in Indo and Pacific nations is, with this data centre coming, we're connected like Singapore, Japan, Australia. And honestly, it's the most important building block. Digital tech is the answer. So, for me, I just think we've got to get on this boat. We've got to embrace what these investments look like, and we just got to think bigger. So, thank you.
Well, we've run out of time. Just want to say, Vanessa, thank you very much for your insights. That's fabulous. Particularly thanks to Fran and Michael for this putting on today. It's been a off-on thing, but fantastic to see it actually happen. And I really look forward to working with you to make sure that we do pick up Kirk Campbell's challenge and get that partnership forum, or whatever we're going to call it next, on the next model, back in Washington in 2023. Thank you.
Kia ora. Thank you.
Thanks a lot, Mike, and thanks, Vanessa, for fitting us in between back-to-back trips to the US. We really appreciate it. Well, we've covered a lot of ground this afternoon, so I think we've all earned a break. So please go and have a cup of coffee, find something to eat, and we're going to be back in here at 3:50 to talk to David Downs about the new New Zealand story, and I'm sure that'll be a really fun chat. So we'll see you back in here then. Thank you.